Our story begins in Scarlet Rot-afflicted Caelid, a wasteland, ridden with carrion scavengers and putrid scarlet fungi. Once the regal domain of General Radahn, who commanded his noble host from atop the seaside cliffs of Redmane Castle, Caelid was mutated in the aftermath of his battle with Malenia, the culmination of the Shattering War. The desolation wrought from Malenia's blossoming rot resulted in the genesis of the Swamp of Aeonia, the fountainhead of the scarlet blight that besets this land. Beyond the Swamp of Aeonia, near the ruins of Celia, town of sorcery, we are led to a decrepit shack where an old sage named Gowry resides. He unassumingly requests that we find an unalloyed gold needle to help heal a young woman named Millicent. Gowry claims she rests at the rotting church above the cliff, worshipped by pests devoted to the Scarlet Rot affliction and the outer god of rot. After scouring the putrid swamps, we discover this unalloyed gold needle in the heart of the great scarlet Aeonian blossom, the preeminent relic of Malenia's legendary battle with Radahn. The needle rests broken on the body of Commander O'Neill, prideful veteran of the Battle of Aeonia. As a commander serving under Malenia and the Shattering, O'Neill was an adherent to Miquella's Order of Unalloyed Gold, an order dedicated to reshaping the world upon the demigod's own pillars of morality, a tale for another time. Upon returning to Gowry with the needle in our possession, he thanks us and repairs the broken needle, before requesting that we deliver it to Millicent. The repaired unalloyed gold needle possesses a unique property that thwarts the interference of outer gods, in this case, the god of rot whose influence dwells within the girl. Before we leave, Gowry recounts how he found Millicent in the Swamp of Aeonia as an infant. He took her in as a father and cared for her. But was paternal love his only motivation, or is something more sinister here beneath the surface? Despite our reservations about the old man, we find Millicent in the ruins of the rotting church, just as he promised. She is in a notably undignified state, laying contorted on the floor with one arm missing and overcome by the scarlet rot. She urges us to keep our distance lest the affliction spread to us. From our first meeting, Millicent is concerned with being a carrier for the scarlet rot, wary that it may spread further. She displays more concern for our life than for her own, immediately demonstrating her selflessness and the warmth of her soul. Abiding by Gowry's wishes to help the girl, we provide Millicent with the repaired unalloyed gold needle. She gladly accepts our aid, choosing to trust in a new friend rather than continuing to fester.
Never mind. I've decided I would rather trust you than simply continue to spoil from within.
Millicent grasps the needle in hand and thrusts it into her flesh. Within moments, she blacks out on the ground.
Everything is as you said. Since inserting the needle, the scarlet rot has ceased to writhe.
Once the needle's outer god thwarting effect takes root in Millicent, the decay of the scarlet rot is abated enough for her to stand upright and thank us, as her memories begin to trickle back. She soon feels the urge to stop by Gowry's shack.
Something about this place felt familiar to me, so I decided to pay a visit, hoping to find someone here, but I've only found emptiness. Perhaps, before my departure, I needed someone to say farewell to.
Millicent finds nothing at the old man's shack. Nothing but an empty goodbye to someone she doesn't even remember. Mysteriously, Gowry disappears while Millicent pays a visit, but immediately reappears when she leaves.
No, she must embark on her journey and stare her fate in the eye. I mustn't impede. As I've aged, I've found the best way to aid the young is to be forgotten.
The moral here being that parents should allow their children to discover their own path, to fully realize their identity instead of blockading their fate by imposing their own will upon them. He can be insightful for a suspicious old hermit.
I'm considering leaving. On a journey.
Millicent prepares to depart the rotting birthplace she only faintly recalls with a sense of purpose, to embark on a journey of self-discovery. Shamshir in hand and ready for adventure, Millicent leaves Caelid for the first time. Destiny awaits our heroine. Millicent navigates Limgrave and Liurnia without ever crossing paths with the Tarnished. Her journey northward is a path of battle and self-discovery, parallel to Malenia's journey southward during her undefeated campaign in the Shattering. As a second parallel, Millicent treks the same path the Cleanrot Knight Finley traveled to rescue Malenia following the catastrophic result of her duel with Radahn, which left the demigod incapacitated. These brave women made the trek spanning the lands between, from the swamp of Aeonia, the site of Malenia's blossoming rot, to the Haligtree, where she now slumbers awaiting the return of Miquella. After some time, we reconvene with Millicent upon the Erdtree Gazing Hill on Altus Plateau. She shares that the rot which previously held her memory and ability hostage no longer fetters her. A renewed sense of purpose posted her mind, to find Malenia, the woman whose path she traces. Millicent already overcame her own challenges to get here, but laments her missing arm, which prevents her from reaching her full potential in battle.
I realized that if I still had my sword arm, I could have aided you in battle.
So, from the gorgeous vista of Leyndell before us, we set off in search of a solution for our friend. To the north, beyond marshes east of Mount Gelmir, we find the Shaded Castle, home of House Marai, whose sons are all born sickly. This fortress, sinking into toxic muck and ridden with all manner of foul, rotting creatures, was the home of a family of executioners who worshipped Malenia. Despite being born afflicted with the Scarlet Rot, she was skilled and beautiful, traits that Malay Marai and the rest of his house envied. So intense was Malay's reverence of Malenia, he collected relics of the Rot Goddess to hide deep within the castle for his admiration alone. Among his collection is the Valkyrie's Prosthesis, a masterwork of gold craftsmanship said to have once been used by the one-armed Valkyrie herself. We dispatch the loyal Cleanrot Knight guarding the treasure and claim it for Millicent before departing the ailing home of House Marai. We return to Millicent atop the Erdtree Gazing Hill and present her with the prosthesis once worn by Malenia. Millicent graciously accepts the Valkyrie's prosthesis, commenting that she may be able to properly wield a sword again. When we next encounter her at Dominula Windmill Village, Millicent assures us of her confidence in her new sword arm, even likening it to a real arm. The natural flow with which Millicent commands the prosthesis is indicative of her relationship with Malenia, who was known to be a master of the sword. Gari is delighted to hear news of Millicent's journey and of her growing skill with the Valkyrie's prosthesis. Elated, he conveys that he's never seen a bud of such superior quality as Millicent. On one hand, it's a heartwarming declaration of support from a father figure. On the other hand, his tone still sounds somehow sinister with veiled ambition. What is the old man after here? Continuing on our journey, we encounter Millicent once more in the mountaintop of giants, where she reveals her ambition to discover the secret path to the Haligtree. Millicent is confident it can be found somewhere in the frozen northern lands, and that the key to reaching it is guarded by the master of Castle Sol. So after a brief meeting that leaves us curious about the shrouded tree of yore that Millicent speaks of, we depart from our friend once more, to discover the secret path to the Haligtree for ourselves. Castle Sol stands tall in the far northern reaches of the mountains, overlooking veiled branches below the cliffside. Commander Niall, warden of Castle Sol, guards half of the secret Haligtree medallion. He and the denizen spirits of Castle Sol are servants of Miquella, who seek a way to return Godwin's soul to his undead body. Another story for later. The other half of the secret Haligtree medallion was gifted to us earlier in our journey by Elbis of the Elbenarix. The elder of a village of persecuted beings entrusts us with his half of the key to the Haligtree, a place promised as salvation for the downtrodden. Uniting both halves of the medallion upon the pedestal of the Grand Lift of Rold reveals the path forward, the hidden path to the Haligtree. Traversing the dark depths of the lift, followed by the frigid blizzard of the consecrated snowfields, leads us to Ordina, liturgical town, a seemingly abandoned town dedicated to worship of Miquella. Here, after lighting the beacons found on the statues honoring Miquella, the path to the Haligtree finally opens for us. Majestic is the kingdom of the Haligtree, a land that welcomes all beings persecuted under the Golden Order, from demi-humans to the children of Rot. This elusive twin tree grown outside the laws of the ruling order, with Miquella's Empyrean blood as its life force, now rots from within. Is this rot mere coincidence, or could it be that we have finally tracked down the woman whose path Millicent traces, the missing demigod Malenia? Surely Millicent will find us here. Her skill has grown considerably. we fight our way down to the base of the tree, and, as expected, we encounter Millicent for the penultimate time in Elfale, Brace of the Haligtree. Millicent flourished into a master swordswoman with a singular goal, to remind Malenia of the dignity she once lost.
There is something I must return to Malenia. The will that was once her own. The dignity. The sense of self. That allowed her to resist the call of the Scarlet Rot. The pride she abandoned. To meet Radahn's measure.
She has traced her path up to this point, but will she finally realize how her fate is tied with Malenia's? Will she finally meet her mother? Prior to delving deeper into the city of Elfale, we pay a visit to Gowry once more to deliver the progress his daughter has made. But it takes a dark turn. He implores us to slay Millicent, his own daughter.
I ask that you side with the sisters and kill Millicent. It must be done by your hand, no other. Millicent trusts you, rather deeply in fact.
I know well enough who you are. And what I know is good enough for me.
Sever that trust. Nurtured by betrayal, her bud will flower most vividly. When Malenia ascends to godhood, Millicent too shall be reborn, as a Scarlet Valkyrie.
After all the tribulation she has endured forged her into a great warrior, he intends for us, her only friend, to betray her at the precipice of her journey, and thus trigger a blossoming more spectacular than even Malenia's.
I beg of you, kill her, with your own two hands.
This was the sinister ambition behind Gowry's words, behind the reason he raised the girl, to hearken the birth of a goddess of rot. Dark purpose revealed, we strike Gowry down, only to reveal a darker truth. He is an undying avatar of rot. He inhabits pests and disguised himself as an old sage to lure us into his plot. Killing Gowry is fruitless. He comes back time and time again, insistent on making his desire a reality. Understanding the futility of our efforts here, we hasten back to the Haligtree to warn Millicent of the truth behind Gowry's needle, to inform our friend of the avatar of Rot's nefarious design for her life. What a difficult journey it must have been for the young woman to discover herself when she never even knew her own mother, when her adopted father schemed for her demise. Deep within the rotting depths of the Haligtree's trunk, we are met with a choice, to betray a friend or to help her. An easy choice. We reciprocate Millicent's trust by aiding her in a deathmatch against her sisters. Proficient warriors, just like Millicent, the sisters are brutal opponents. Although Millicent's dexterity and our tenacity allow a narrow victory to fall our way, it is not without a price. A mortal wound is inflicted on Millicent. In the aftermath of the battle, Millicent does not blossom into a goddess of rot. A rotting explosion does not obliterate the Haligtree into a decaying wasteland. Millicent does not become a legend whose exploits will be recorded in the annals of history. Her end is humble and dignified.
I paused to even tell you, but I took out the needle myself. Tell whoever put you up to this that if I am to flower into something other than myself, I would rather rot into nothingness as I am.
Powerful words that echo in our hearts. Throughout Millicent's journey, she gradually recalled her memories, discovered who she wanted to be, and determined her goal of reminding Malenia, her mother, of the dignity she once lost. She did just that. With her choice to remove the unalloyed gold needle from her flesh, and refuse succumbing to the Avatar of Rot's machinations, Millicent retains her dignity and maintains the agency to make a decision that her mother failed to resist blossoming into something she is not, to resist succumbing to the Scarlet Rot. She avoided the trap of following in her mother's footsteps, although she traced the same path for a time, avoided the ominous ambitions cast upon her by her father, and ultimately flourished into exactly who she wanted to be, herself. Millicent passes peacefully, of her own volition, with her friend at her side. A sorrowful, yet dignified conclusion to a tale of self-discovery. The tale of Millicent is a tale of identity and dignity, a tale of the eternal struggle to find oneself authentically amidst external forces vying to influence who we are. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you again for the next story on the Lands Between anthology.